Rosalie Barrow Edge was a pivotal figure in North American wildlife conservation, whose legacy includes the foundation of the world's first preserve for birds of prey, Hawk Mountain Sanctuary, and significant contributions to the establishment of national parks and conservation movements. Born into a prominent New York City family, Edge's initial activism was in the suffrage movement, where she played a key role in the passage of the 19th Amendment. Her focus shifted to environmental conservation after she became aware of the declining populations of hawks and eagles and the ineffectiveness of existing conservation establishments. Edge's journey into conservation was sparked by a pamphlet she received in 1929, A Crisis in Conservation, which exposed the ties between bird protection organizations and gun and ammunition makers, revealing a neglect for the protection of many species, including the bald eagle. This revelation prompted Edge to challenge the established conservation groups and to advocate for stricter protection measures for birds and wildlife. In 1929, she founded the Emergency Conservation Committee, otherwise known as the ECC, to push for conservation reforms across the country. Through the ECC, Edge led campaigns to create Hawk Mountain Sanctuary in Pennsylvania by leasing and later purchasing land to prevent the annual slaughter of migratory birds of prey. This sanctuary not only provided a haven for these birds, but also served as a model for wildlife conservation worldwide. Edge's conservation efforts extended beyond Hawk Mountain. She was instrumental in the national grassroots campaign that led to the creation of Olympic National Park in 1938 and Kings Canyon National Park in 1940. She also successfully lobbied Congress to purchase thousands of acres of old-growth forests and the perimeter of Yosemite National Park that were slated for logging, showcasing her broader commitment to preserving natural habitats. Rosalie Edge's work had a lasting impact on the conservation movement. She influenced the founding of major environmental organizations like the Wilderness Society, the Nature Conservancy, and the Environmental Defense Fund. Her advocacy and actions have been recognized as instrumental in shifting the focus of wildlife conservation towards a more inclusive and scientifically grounded approach. Rosalie Barrow Edge's life and work stand as a towering testament to the power of individual action in the face of environmental challenges. Her relentless pursuit of conservation, driven by a deep belief in the moral imperative to protect our natural world, transformed the landscape of wildlife preservation and set a precedent for future generations. Edge's legacy reminds us that passion, coupled with action, can indeed lead to profound environmental change. By following in her footsteps, each of us has the opportunity to contribute to the preservation of our planet's irreplaceable biodiversity. Whether through supporting conservation organizations, advocating for a protective legislation, or simply fostering a deeper connection with the natural world in our local communities, we can all play a part in continuing the vital work that Edge so courageously began. Let her indomitable spirit inspire us to take up the mantle of conservation, for in safeguarding the beauty and diversity of nature, we ultimately protect our own future. Thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aptitude Outdoors podcast. Hope you learned something about wildlife conservation, and I hope you learned something about Rosalie Edge and her contributions to wildlife. Be back soon with another episode.